true to what you said on paper.
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within, haunted by a power that cannot see past my skin. My views are viewed as ignorant, my truth always denied. My history is shrouded in a spider web of lies. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read. Of the freedom of press, somewhere I read. That the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
How can I pledge allegiance to a country built on lies?
Well, good morning. Welcome to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I want to thank our sponsor, The Money Store, for all your mortgage needs. Give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 508-345-4726. That's 508-345-4726. We also want to thank the Cruise Construction for their continued support of the broadcast and the MAMLEO membership. Like I said, without all this help, we would not be here on this frigid morning today. It is cold. When I got in the car this morning, it said -4. I started to get back out, but I said, you know what? A lot to talk about here this morning. And I had to even wake up Pastor Hobbs running. Yeah. You know, he was frozen to the sheets. So I had to get him out this morning. But we are here live in studio. A little chilly in here, but we're here. You know, the crew is drifting in this morning. You know, that song there, though, I tell you, that America, be true to what you said on paper. But we're going to get into that because we definitely are not being true in that regard. I want to say a hearty good morning to Brother T. Michael. Good morning to Mr. and Mrs. Harry Scales. Brother Harry, good morning, sir. I hope you are warm, having a hot cup of coffee. Thank you, sir, for all that information you send out. Appreciate you, brother. Much love. Good morning, Brother Jamal. Brother Dick. Good morning, Brother Cliff. Good morning, Michelle. I hope things are better for you. I know you've had a few tough weeks, so I want to say our prayers are with you and your family during these troubling times. I want to say good morning, Helen, but Helen is here, so normally we give her a shout out. She is in studio this morning. You know, Trooper came in the cold. You know, must have caught that tailwind.
Hey, here to support everyone.
Appreciate that. Good morning, Pastor Hobbs. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm well. By the grace of God.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
This morning. You know, so like I said, we the crew trickling. I think there's a polar bear walking in.
There are clothes on that damn bear.
The Bear Essentials.
Yeah, that bear got on human clothes.
Slowly but surely.
Hey, Dr. Bradley is bundled huff house. I don't blame him. I know.
I made it, Doc.
Yeah, appreciate it. We gonna need you this morning, Doc.
Oh my God.
I know it's those type of mornings where you be like, do I really want to get out the bed this morning?
Brother,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I got to put out of the way.
Right.
What time is it?
I know.
Oh no.
And I think probably for you, because you know you guys, your house, you converted your garage into part of the house now, so you've got to park outside. Oh, you can barely hear him. I know. Think here, what? Like, who they talking to?
I do have to say, I definitely really appreciate having a garage, because if you,
oh my goodness,
the few days I've had to shovel the driveway out of snow, I can't imagine having to do
I was
that
shoveling
with
the
a car
driveway.
too.
The snowblower you gave me broke.
Okay, yeah.
It the pins broke in it.
Oh wow.
So I'm pushing, and I'm like, this thing should be moving.
Yeah.
Oh
and my wife's
no.
like, honey, that auger is not moving. I'm like, oh
wow.
freaking shit pins broke.
So did you have to
Had
pull
to
out the
break-
backup
I had to
shovels?
pull out the backup shovels. Take my snowblower.
Yeah.
to the guy, he was like, well, it just depends, bro. It
Yeah.
just depends. I changed it in about 2 minutes. I was like, I could have done that in the yard.
Right. No, it's funny because my neighbor was she just bought a snowblower and she was like, oh. It's great. It's got these hand warmers. I said, no, my brother. I
Wait,
said,
the snowblower comes with hand
Yes,
warmers?
no,
it
the
It has a
the
little
handles.
switch.
Yeah, you
You
can
hit
hear
the
the
switch, and you got this little like heat waves, and it just warms you. You have to take your gloves off.
Right.
That's how hot it gets.
But I think
Interesting.
if you haven't had them,
Yeah.
and it really makes a difference when you're out there because it is keep your hands gets cold, you know,
Yeah.
and so, you know, I told my brother nothing but the best for him. He got the Rolls Royce.
That's right. That thing is awesome.
You
It's
know,
awesome.
you know, you can release to turn the wheels where normally
Yeah.
you gotta be
Yeah.
struggling.
Wow.
So that you have to turn it. You can just hit a button.
Yeah, and release
This wheel here stops
Yeah.
pulling. This wheel doesn't
Oh,
turn.
so that you
it
can
turns that way.
Yeah.
It turns that way.
Yeah.
I'm
Hit a button,
I'm
you
old
do it.
school. I got shovel that lifts and a shovel that scrapes.
I hear ya. I was in your school the other day.
So
And it hurt me. It got so bad. Remember, my neighbor came over. He said, "Willie, sit up." I am. He's younger. He was like,
That's
I
a
got
nice
you.
neighbor.
He just came in. He just did everything.
Yeah.
I was like,
Wow.
man, thank you so much because I could not. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. out
that's
there,
old.
man.
That's
I have to
old
say,
school.
good neighbors are hard to find.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I have some amazing neighbors where I am because I was shoveling out one day. I think it was the first snowstorm we had, and they came over. Then his brother came over, and they're like, "Let's just help you shovel." And within
Yeah.
like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
like,
It's all done.
yeah,
Yeah, but
I
that's
do
a
the same thing
rarity
for
these
my,
days.
I have right across the street from
No.
me. I have a neighbor he's 94.
Wow.
His wife is 90, and one day they were out trying to move a bed head. The thing was oak, man.
Wow.
Ooh.
You know, and so my wife was like, "Honey, you seen Dick?" I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh my God, Nan is out there with him," and they're rolling. You know, they're trying to get it out. So I walk over, pick it up, and put it down. She goes, "Oh, you're so strong." I was like, "Oh, this is gonna hurt me too."
you're like, ask me tomorrow morning.
Yeah, exactly.
No spring
But
chicken.
we do that for them, you know,
Yeah.
make sure that they're all squared away because they're
so
older.
We gotta take care of each other.
Old school. That's how neighbors
Yeah.
did. Now today, they're too busy on their phone to even look up and see you even struggling.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they do, they figure, "Oh, I wonder if I can Google it or take a picture of it and send it out."
How much you gonna pay me?
Send it out. So, well, Pastor Hobbs, sir, it is cold. We need prayer to warm us up.
Indeed. Father God, we do thank you for your mercy, for your grace, for this day that you made. Even with the cold, we're grateful for life. And we're grateful to know that you're all powerful, you're all knowing, and very present, helpful in time. And even every good and every perfect gift comes from you. So we surrender this broadcast to you. Be glorified in and through it all that's going on in our world. And we know that you are the source. So again, be glorified in and through this broadcast, all that's said and all that's done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. It is really biting cold, folks. So if you need to be out today, please be careful. I wouldn't be out walking around if you don't have a car or somewhere.
I think it's 0 degrees.
Yeah, well, it was -4.
Oh, never
And
mind.
you know, to your point about the garage, it's like when the other day it was cold. Today's even colder, so I know I can tell pretty much from my garage, even though it's not heated. The other day it was like 39 in my garage, you know, the temperature, and as soon as I backed out, it went down to 7.
Yep. Yeah.
So you know, it does make a difference.
Oh,
yeah.
actually, a little tip too I learned, because I don't know about all of you, but I know all around me, everyone is kind of sold out of ice melt. So all
Oh.
there's left is sand. So for anyone that needs it, I would advise, if you can get it, if you even have a little bit of ice melt, you can mix it with sand and kind of stretch it a bit.
Yeah.
So if you're really in the need, either that or sometimes if you can get gravel too, just something that helps to
Yeah.
ease
Oh,
the
just-
traction.
My driveway is on a slope.
Oh yeah, that's right. You got
And
that
my
hill.
wife, she wants it down to the pavement, you know, because
But-
she can't. She has that car, that rear wheel drive,
Yeah.
so she can't get up.
Can't
and
get
it's
the
like,
traction.
But if it's too cold, the ice melt doesn't work.
it doesn't work.
And I
you
think
know?
under 15 degrees in
Yeah.
some places,
Yeah.
it don't work. So even if you put ice melt on
It's
under
a-
15, ice melt won't work. So you need sand.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. Wonder how it is down in Indiana.
But it's gonna be cold.
It's gonna be cold.
It's cold in Florida, though.
People
Stay cold weather with you.
Good morning, Brother Bridgeforth. I hope it's a little warmer down there. I doubt it, because places that are normal, like you said, Dr. Belly, my in-laws are down at our place in Florida, and they're, the day we had the storm last week, last Sunday, it was 78 degrees there in Tampa. So now it's cold down there. Even that cold front. Miami
they're
is
supposed to hit below freezing. Actually,
Miami's supposed to be 30. It's actually 20 degrees. It's 32 they said, but it's going to feel like 20 in Miami.
Yeah.
In Miami.
In Miami to the next one. But I don't feel too bad for folks down there, because they're only going to have it for a couple of days.
True.
We won't see,
we won't see that until June.
Right. If we're
Get
lucky.
snow sometimes we get snow in May up here.
Yeah, remember the April Fool's Day
Yes,
storm?
I remember that one. Got like 3-4 feet of snow.
Everybody
That's
put
another
them-
thing too. To keep staying warm. Hopefully everyone stays safe, because those space heaters. Got to be very
Yeah.
careful with those.
And then people,
Yeah, that's a good point though.
Yeah.
Because I use blowers. I don't really necessarily use the space. It's a space heater, but it has a safety switch.
Right.
So you get to a certain temperature, it automatically shut off. So I do recommend that,
Yeah.
because I have very high ceilings in my house. All the heat can't tend to rise.
Yep.
So you're down here. It can get a little
Right.
uncomfortable, so I have to use fans and
Right, to
turn
blow-
them backwards
move
to
the
keep
air
the
around.
heat.
Yeah.
And
And I tell people, your fans, to your point, Dr. Bradley, they, if you turn it the opposite direction, it has two directionals.
Yeah.
One is for like the summertime when you want the cool air, and then one is for to bring the heat down.
down.
Yeah, it pushes the air down.
Right. People don't know that. They have a function, to your point,
Yeah.
that helps. You don't have to have it blowing real hard, but you just want to keep that
Just
warm.
want to keep it,
Yeah.
just turn it
Bring
slowly
it
to
around.
keep the heat down.
And if you're
Go ahead.
looking for space heaters, make sure you have ones where, especially if you have pets or kids in the house, ones that knock over and they stop working, because that's sometimes
Well, all the
been an
new
issue, too.
technology is there, but like I said, some people have space heaters from back in the day,
Yeah.
and
Never know.
they're not even ready. But also, did you guys hear the guy that was trying to melt in Milton there?
Oh, I just heard about that. Who's a torch?
The
Trying
torch to melt the ice
off this roof.
and he wondered why the roof caught on fire.
Oh,
The only good thing about that is no one got hurt.
Right.
Yeah, I
You
know.
can't make folks.
you can't make it up. And even the whole thing about when people try to say toss like warm water or boiling water, that can actually be worse, because that can cause your driveway or sidewalks to crack.
It's gonna freeze, but
That's
also
exactly,
it's
it'll
gonna freeze
freeze
up
right back
quick.
over.
Right? It's not gonna,
Yeah.
you just, unless you want a skating rink in your
I'm
driveway.
sitting here wondering why my head is cold.
Because you don't got your hat on.
Oh yeah.
Where's your nice matching scarf and hat set?
I think we're gonna have to have Pastor the winter months. We're gonna have to have Pastor Hobbs
See,
set us
I kept
set
my
the
jacket.
studio up in the boiler room. in the boiler room.
You might need to put your jacket back on. It is cold in here.
Folks, if you want to join in with us this morning, the caller number is 617-282-0685. 617-282-0685 is the
Yep.
number. Folks, a lot going on. First of all, Dr. Bradley reminded me that the Patriots are in the Super Bowl. Who would have thought, right?
Well, I did. Well, I called it.
Oh, you called it? Oh. So does he owe you lunch now?
Oh, well, he always owed me. No, I called it.
Yeah.
I called it.
You did. My brother Derek, he said the same. He said they're going to the Super Bowl, and I was driving. We were going out to one of the property locations, and he's filming. And he said, yeah, they're going to be. I said, yeah, folks, that's why I'm driving him to his psychiatrist, because he lost his mind. But
It looked like who lost their mind?
I think I have to sit in the passenger seat.
I think they're going to win it.
Well, the thing is, I normally, if I was still working, I would have been rooting against them during the playoffs, because Dr. Bradley, when you're
it's
on
gonna be a cold parade, boy.
when you're out there working, Super Bowl, it's not enjoyable for
Well, it's
after
not
a
like
while.
you're watching the game. You're standing out in the cold.
Right, and it's not like if it's closing at the end, you got to get out there before everybody else does.
Yeah.
So it's not an enjoyable. Imagine
It's not, but
a day like today.
I think when I look at the two teams, I look at when I analyze football, I go to the trenches,
Yeah.
the offense and defensive line.
But now let me ask you: will it always be an asterisk because Denver's quarterback, and that's
No.
about that's what
No, not at all. Because you know what? I tell you something. Denver had a very good defense.
they did, but they had no offense really. So that's
No.
If you
No. I mean, hey, that guy
started out.
That guy gets
Okay.
$7 million.
wow.
You know what I mean? If people act as if the Patriots are playing against a division, like in college, you have a division 1, 2, and 3. These are all NFL professional
Yeah, they
players.
did have a weaker lineup this time around. They had some teams were good, but they did.
I don't subscribe to that theory, Larry, because at that level, everybody's pros.
Well,
Everybody's pros. Everybody getting paid. Everybody quick. Everybody playing at the same level.
but not all are equal.
Well, I got that. I got that because some organizations are better than others. But as a player, I'm playing who you put in front of me.
No, this is
You can't blame. You can't minimize my accomplishments because I'm playing who put in front of me.
No, I'm not disputing that. They won fair and square. But what I'm saying is that, and here's kind of like where I have a little issue too, though. You know, like when the new coach came in, you know, they gave him money and they changed personnel that they didn't give to Gerard Mayo, right? And they, you know, so this is where I'm like, okay, could he have done a better job if he had the personnel that
Yes.
Yes, you know,
I agree with you, but I think there's one of the things that Gerard did, that Brable did that Gerard didn't do. You know, Brable said, if I come in, this person can't control the money. There was a female lawyer there who was not familiar with football. Gerard never moved her out. She determined when Gerard wanted to spend money, she determined, no, we're not going to spend that money.
Right.
Brable said, no, she got to go.
Right.
And he made, and his team, and along with Kraft, made the decisions about who was
But
spending the money.
you just made my point for me, brother, and Dr. Bradley, because again, he didn't have that discretion that Vrabel had. What is the difference?
I'm curious.
The difference is the desire that they wanted.
No, right? Is that tan?
Well, I mean, that's always a fact. I'm not arguing against that.
Right.
I mean, that's all. I'll be, come on, that's always a factor. But I'm also saying that if I were Gerard and I knew the game as well as I knew it, I would have said either her or me. I can't do my job if I got somebody telling me when I can't spend the money that I need to spend to get the players I need to play to get to win the game.
Makes sense.
So a part of that is also on him. That's all I'm saying.
No, I'm not saying you don't push back, but I think there's always that, you know, Dr. Bradley, you've been in leadership.
Yep.
Right? When we push back, the result is usually we end up not having a job.
Absolutely. Larry, I did it.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I pushed
That's what I'm
back.
saying. I know. That's what I'm talking about.
But you got to be
You know how
able
that
to, but you got to push back though.
You do. But, you
You
know,
know?
it's sometimes, you know, you're like, okay, you go along, get along because you're getting a check. And you figure maybe I'll try to make it work, right? But that's what I'm talking about. The support should be across the board,
Yeah, I
right?
got you.
You know, and that's what I'm saying. That's what kind of frustrates me is that support is not equal when it's us. You know,
I got it.
Well, and we're seeing it so much, right? Even locally, right? We look at it with the police department now, or even just whether it be in Boston or even any other parts of the state. You know, where you see like leadership, there are those that will speak out and say, you know, hey, like this is not working, this isn't right, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then you see those that look like they're just kind of towing the line. And
Well, and that line isn't being told, you know, and that's where we want to get to this morning, you know, what's happening in the country. We're going to get into local as well. But I want to, you know, Dr. Bradley, I know you're a historian. Helen, you teach, you're at academia as well. I want to get you guys' take on what is happening in this country. You know, I mean, I always go back to my big brother, Dr. Bradley, always said, you know, Donald Trump was not running for president. He was running for king.
Told you.
You know, you like I said, but you're 2 for 2 this morning. You got the Patriots right. You got Trump right. And this is why they want to erase history in this country, right? You know, they're going after Asians. They're going after Africa. And a lot of this population voted for them because they thought that he had this business savvy, and clearly folks didn't do their homework because Donald Trump has bankrupted every business that he has had in his entire life. He lost that hundreds of millions of dollars that his father left him in his inheritance. He cheated his family members who were entitled to some of that out of their money. And here we are at a reflection point in this country that, if you look at history, reminds me of how they treated the Asians, how they treated African Americans, how they treated Indians. I mean, this is a better understanding of why Donald Trump is so fond of autocrats, right? Putin and those folks, because why he didn't stand up for them, because his plan was to act in the same way, right? Invading other countries.
but if you look at history too, right? We look at it, and people have talked about how, you know, with recent policies with regards to immigration and, you know, those that enter the country illegally and being deported and so forth. I mean, that's been happening since whether it be Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Obama was called the deporter in chief.
Right.
He had with Joe Biden, whether it be Democrat or Republican. That's something that's been happening and going on for decades and decades now, right?
Yep.
And it's interesting that we look at it where now it seems like politics is so bipartisan that it's just like you said, it's not only even erasing history, it's we tend to also forget history, right? And that's just as dangerous in forgetting what has happened in the past.
But the difference,
in terms
like I
of
said, I don't think there's many people, and I'm sure there's still some that would disagree with enforcement of the laws, right? Immigration laws. But I don't recall any president, Democrat or Republican, in this manner where we're going in and invading cities, where we have a budget for ICE that is homeless, that is larger than the FBI, than our law enforcement, the people who are tasked with protecting us. You know, it's 3 times their budget. It's never been enforced in this way.
Actually, during COVID, we actually had some cities that had, I believe it was either local or even calling in the National Guard, telling people, ordering people back into their homes.
Right. That
and
was
even like during that with the pandemic, and then even with in terms of ICE and Department of Homeland Security, you know, that all started after 9/11. The with the commission report after the 9/11 commission report after that, right? So we know Department of Homeland Security in itself is a relatively new agency. It's only been around for a couple decades.
Right, since 9/11.
And their budget has actually been pretty large relatively compared to a lot of the other agencies. Well, you know, FBI is obviously going to be one that has a good amount of resources to it. But in terms of the amount of staffing and budget and resources, it's a department that's actually been growing for a while now.
It has been
Since
growing, but
2001.
in the wrong direction and in the wrong mission. When you have an authoritarian that is in charge of that.
I think anyone who's had to fly through the airport and take off their shoes and everything else will agree with you. We don't need TSA.
Right. You know.
But brother, let me tell you something. America has seen this before.
Yes.
All right, this is not a new phenomenon for America. When you look at the history, you know, I beckon back to Andrew Johnson is a good example, who actually dropped the ball completely on after the Civil War, and allowed individuals who were fighting on the battlefield to defeat this government back into the folding arms of government to represent
January
states.
6th insurrection is right.
So America has seen this before, which tells me that when it has been done before, there are mechanisms, the social mechanism that we do not see, that will actually rear its head to fight against this. And one of the things, where I'm going with this, is what you're seeing in the Twin Cities. Look at the people who are actually out in the Twin Cities. Who do they look like? They don't look like me.
No.
You.
Or
you.
me. But and look at it too, though. We have how many thousands of cities in this entire country?
Yeah.
But out of all the activity that you're seeing of all this violence and quote unquote peaceful protests that haven't been turning very peaceful, it's like it's only what accounts for maybe like under a dozen cities, if even that.
Well,
that a lot of this is happening.
But what really bothers me though is that there's a silent, I wouldn't say majority, but there's a silent component of our society that's actually supporting this dude.
Right.
That's actually saying nothing. But when it comes down to actually going to the voting pool, they're voting for him, and some of those people look like us.
Absolutely.
You know? And they're supporting this guy. And you know, and the hit here is that he is already moving to dismantle our democracy. All right. Look at what he did in Georgia. Now the Constitution is very, very clear that the state
States
runs the
elections, right?
It doesn't give if you have any entity in our government at the federal level, it would be Congress.
But also,
that will actually kind of look at the
who
process.
was on President Day, right? The director Gifford. I think the DNI, the National Intelligence. I mean that she has no authority in anything to do locally, just like the CIA. Yeah. They don't do a domestic situation. So for her to be down there, as she's a tourist, and say, oh well, you know, no. What is she overseeing here?
But see, that's my point though. They're breaking down those barriers. And what angers me with the Republican Party is that they're standing by tacitly and allowing them to do this without uttering a word. They're just capitulating
To that point, Dr. Bannon, we're going to grab this call. They're not. They're not reading the tea leaves, because the American public, even a lot of those who were supporting Trump, even some of those folks who look like us, you see those numbers changing. So I'm not sure what they're holding on to. It's
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, because even if you look at it, not even just on the federal level, but even on the local level, look at even the voting population and everything else. And even with just the local mayoral election, you had less than, 12, maybe approximately about 12 to 10% of the entire voting population in the city voted for the mayor. But yet they're going to keep touting 90+% support when that wasn't even the case, right? And then you wonder, even with the voting numbers, it's like, where does that come from?
But you are analyzing this in the current context, in the current construct. But what if that construct no longer applies? What if, I'm just thinking, this is how I think, what if you actually saying, he says, we're not voting?
And that's what he said.
What if he's saying we're going to suspend this because of whatever reason?
Well, an insurrection. He's going to claim an insurrection.
So if that's the case, the numbers you're seeing, it really doesn't matter.
Exactly. No, you're right.
It doesn't matter.
Remember, he said, if he gets elected, you will never have to vote again.
That's right.
You have a senile president now.
Hey, don't get me started. But see, so what we tend to do when we analyze this, we look at the current situation. We look at it from a logical from what we're dealing with, what we had in the future.
From the norms.
This dude is saying there's no norms.
Right.
I'm going to create the norms.
And I'll bring it right back, right, to most of our listeners being more local and so forth. I mean, the question I ask, right, again, we go back to the numbers. A big chunk of Mayor Michelle Wu's campaign donations, right, campaign contributions, about nearly, I believe it was almost several $100,000, came from everywhere outside of the state across the country, right? Yeah. And so how does that factor into a city local mayoral election? Or even the first time she got elected, a good amount of those votes came from college students, right? And how is it that college students are dictating and basically are the reason why we are now ending up with, what is it, 13 first your quarter one tax bill hit yet?
Yeah,
right? 26% increase?
Yeah.
Right?
Mine went from one property went from $1,300 to $1,999. A $600 increase. That's for a quarter.
A quarter. And that's just, and multiply that by the thousands upon thousands of families that they're just, stretching thin, right? Paycheck by paycheck, not by any virtue of whatever it may be, but it's just everything, the cost of everything is rising, right? No. And then you have so much of that political influence that's coming in from outside, clearly, and you have a lot of, all of that's coming in terms of even why are they, back when, Willie, I'm sure you heard, and Larry, I'm sure you heard, back in the day, whether it be Walsh, Menino, and everyone else, all the ballot harvesting that they used to do, right? They had the quote-unquote kingmakers, right? We all know who they were in the city, right? They would go by with the kingmakers, go through the neighborhoods, go through the communities, collect those votes, right? Those absentee ballots and whatever it may be, and mail them in, right? We've had those different structures that have come in, whether it be Democrat or Republican, right? Yeah. And I think that those are the structures and the processes that we need to shine a light on, because then it lets people know that, hey, this is where the things that we need to kind of look at and fix, and if you see it happening, we got to find ways to stop it, to make sure that you can get your vote in and actually be heard.
Speaking of being heard, let's hear what caller. Good morning, Jamal. Welcome to the round table.
Hey, peace. Good morning. This is Jamal.
Good morning.
And brother Frank. Oh, it just went off because I was hearing another recording in my ear. But yeah. So I just wanted to comment on this thing, with the ICE and the deportations and everything, right? So, as was pointed out, this has happened under every presidency, so on and so forth. But the differences and the distinction, to me, is very much like in law enforcement with a police department. Okay, we understand every day arrests are going to have to be made. Yep. It's an unfortunate aspect of our society, but people are going to have to be arrested. Right? But now, if you have a department that is arresting them and, mishandling them, treating them badly, rough arrests, and at the same time there's a public doctrine that says, you're a scumbag, you deserve to be locked up or mistreated or killed, right? That's when it changes. It's the tone of it.
Right.
Another example would be, you know, obviously, sometimes we have to discipline our children, right? And some people, let's say, believe in spanking. So there's a difference even in spanking if you're doing it out of anger,
right.
and while you're doing it out of anger, you're also calling your kid also stupid and all this type of stuff, where now that goes into the realm of abuse, as opposed to if you're disciplining with love. Some of these things have to happen. Some deportations have to happen, particularly with what he started with, all the, you know, these criminals and the rapists and all.
Right.
I'm for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm for that.
Right.
But the way that it's being executed now, you know, with children and
right.
being torn away from their mothers, and, you know, pregnant women and people who are clearly innocent or have very low thresholds violations, it's the extremity of what the rhetoric is and how it's being carried out.
Well, I think just to add to, I think you're right on target, Jamal. But I just to add to what you're saying there, and I want to get your take on this as well, Dr. Bradley. The narrative that they're putting out there before they even have, that's the one thing that most law enforcement will wait when there's a shooting involving their officers, and they don't investigate their own, right? So when you put the narrative out there that this, you know, because they're using words, they're practicing calling people domestic terrorists, right? Because they're exercising their First Amendment right to go out there and peacefully protest, right? And then not understanding in this world that we live in now, like that would have probably, you know, like when the gentleman that was killed last week, and they claimed he had a gun waving it at them, right?
Well,
and
there was video of him actually going around like spitting on the officers and so forth.
But
Too. There's been more and more stuff coming out.
Yeah, that's not a justification for killing him. You know,
I'm not saying it is.
No, I'm saying
just context.
right.
Yeah.
That Trump is trying to say that. Well, yeah, see, look what he did. He deserved it, right? And yet he pardoned these folks who actually attacked law enforcement on January 6th. So people, like, it's like, don't believe me. That's what authoritarians are. Believe your lying eyes, right? Because what you're seeing is not really what's happening. Believe my version of it. And I think people are tired of it.
Just want to add to that, you know, and with AI, right? Because
lot of stuff.
you know what I'm saying, and what's people are making up stuff like
Yeah.
this gun that's manifested. Is that real, or was that something that was created?
To that point, Dr. Bradley, the woman that was arrested for supposedly going into the church, when they had brought her out, they AI her picture. She was not crying,
exactly,
right? But then the federal government put an AI generated of her boo-hooing because they wanted people to say, "Look, this is what happened."
Yes.
I don't know if you guys have saw
I
that.
saw it.
Or even like the whole the recent news about the child that was, you know, taken by ICE officers. There's also been accounts of the child actually being abandoned by the adults that were with the child,
which is
and
not
that
true.
and that the ICE officers were, because they weren't going to leave the child.
Who knows what's true?
Exactly. So we have like all these different, like taking different contexts. It's like, it isn't necessarily, I think a big part of it is like trust but verify, right? And a lot of it too is even with Minnesota. Minnesota is such a unique situation where so much of, I think the approximate, like a big majority, like 76 or 77% of Minnesota is actually white, right? Population wise. It's a state that didn't support Ronald Reagan in either of his presidential runs, right? So it's really, I think it's actually unique.
They didn't
kind of
support
like,
Trump either, and he keeps claiming that, you know, he won. That's why he's trying to paint this narrative that there's something illegal going on, or why the federal government needs to take over elections. I think people aren't seeing the danger of, it's not like they're hiding all of this stuff. They're doing it right out there in the open, but they're trying to normalize that somehow they have the authority to do so. And what's sad is that the top court in this country, the Supreme Court, who claims that they're strict constitutionalists, are watching this in real time and delaying decisions that they should be making. But I think the people aren't going to continue to take. They're not taking that.
As far as I'm concerned, some of those individuals need to be impeached as well.
Yeah.
But this is my hit. My hit is that ICE is akin to slave patrol.
Yes.
It's not Gestapo.
Yeah.
It's akin to slave patrol. And let me tell you why. My daughter, who's living with us, and her partner went to New York. Her partner is from Jamaica. I said to Janae, make sure you have your passport.
The fact that you have to say, go ahead.
This is my hit. Make sure you have your passport, and make sure that Jovina has her passport and her papers. Think about that.
Well,
that is the
Actually-
same conversation that in 1862, enslaved parents had to have with their children when they were moving from plantation to plantation.
I wouldn't even say you have to go that far back. I remember during COVID, all that was going on.
I got it.
So many of my friends,
I got it.
everyone was telling each other, keep your passport on
Yeah,
you.
I
If
got
you
it.
look like me,
And even then,
Make sure.
even then, that was akin to slave patrol. Because I keep hearing people talk about the Gestapo.
Yeah.
Hitler rejected some of the practices that he observed, or his people observed, that was happening in South and North Carolina as it relates to alienating people of color, in particular black people. They said, no, we're not going to. That is too extreme.
Well,
but this is my hit. My hit is simple as this: is that if we're not careful, because he has already dismantled our ally relationship post World War II, which made America as prosperous as it is. It kind of gave it that extra boost. All right, because opened up all these markets in Europe. Hold up. He's dismantling that. Now what he's doing is strategically taking away the guardrails of democracy. He thought that the people that would be fighting against the ICE would be looking like you and me.
Right.
You and
Right.
me. But it's not.
Right.
It's actually, he's killing white folks. When
And
he's killed white
that's what-
folks, it's going to change the
over.
whole
But-
game.
Game over.
but that's where I would argue. Sorry, Larry,
No,
just at a point. That's where I would argue. There's actually a lot of the protesters are apparently white Marxists. And there is actually a huge movement that's been an undercurrent going on and a commonality in a lot of these confrontations that end up becoming violent, where there is that common, they're self-proclaimed socialists, Marxists, communists that come through and actually are trying to distract from what's going on. I mean, look at the different political situations that are going on, the changes. You have cities like Dearborn, Michigan, turning into Muslim cities. You have some cities and towns practically implementing Sharia law. You talk about guardrails of democracy being abolished. Something like Sharia law shouldn't exist in a country like the United States.
But see, in America, all that might be true. But the first thing that hit America's eye is your white supremacy.
Right.
And when you have white people actually fighting for the rights of other people, they are detached from the white supremacy, and they become victimized just like everybody else.
So Jamal, to Dr. Bradley's point when he was talking about his daughter and his daughter-in-law, their situation about the papers, it just made me think about, and you're probably aware of this as well, is that as black parents, as parents of people of color, when we've had to tell our children prior to this how to conduct yourself if you get stopped by the police,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right. So
Highway patrol.
this is what this resonates with, not even just current, right? When black people were being shot, being pulled over, and then they claim before people had to wear body cameras, before everyone had a cell phone, the narrative from the police is what people took them at face value.
or black officers that would being pulled over when they worked for the city themselves.
Right.
And
So
got pulled
now
over by the
we're
officers.
seeing that there is evidence to dispute it, but they're trying to rush to get their narrative out there before you believe. So now that they can say, well, what you're getting is fake, they're putting out a fake narrative because what we told you is the truth. And there are people who only get their news from a certain news outlet. The truth, because sometimes I'll turn into some of these other ones and I'm like, how the same thing that they're accusing other folks is exactly what they're doing. That's the play from Donald Trump. So Jamal, like today, there's and I don't know how effective these protests, but there's ICE out of everywhere protests. Abolish ICE today, Saturday, January 31st, 11:30 a.m. at the Liberty Mall at Boston Common. Now we've had the No King's Day, we've had a lot, but the only way I feel like that this changes is at the ballot box, right? And which they're trying to set up now to disenfranchise people from voting. And I tell people, if you understand the history of this country, what we're going through, it's real difficult. It's tough time. But what folks had to go through
Before us?
that's what I'm talking. This
It's nothing.
no. If this intimidates you from voting, and you're afraid to go out and vote because you think ICE is going to be standing there shame on you. Shame on you. And guess what?
Well, technically, if you're afraid that ICE is standing there, you may not have the right to vote to begin with. But
Well, no,
if you-
it's
if
not
you're
even
supposed to be
that.
voting,
You just
should
don't want to
out
be
there.
harassed.
That is true.
So,
That is
you know,
true.
because I tell people the government doesn't take your rights from you. You relinquish
Exactly.
them by not exercising them. Like, you know, and Jamal, I want to get you, like with Don Lemon, you know, I'm watching the video of him reporting as a reporter in this church. There's nothing, when you go to a clerk magistrate as a police officer, but there's a DA, and they refuse to issue an arrest warrant because they're saying there's no probable cause to do this. Then you go in and panel a grand jury, and we all know in law enforcement they're saying you can indict a ham sandwich, which is true because there's no defense on the other side to say, hey, what they're doing. But you went to a reputable, most people who have any integrity, when they go to a clerk magistrate and they deny the complaint, that's the end of game. You don't go around them and go find shops with someone else. Clearly, this is a person here. The fact that they went and did it to the grand jury, and that's what they're doing. They don't care about whether or not there's any truth to it. The cruelty and the justification is that they got you indicted, and that's enough.
It's
Because
about the public appearance.
it's out there in the
It's about
atmosphere.
But I do take issue with the protesting in the church. I mean, it's and for myself, having, you know, as an adult chosen to be Catholic, and it's like when you have certain institutions like a church, like a religious institution.
No, I'm not
there's
condoning
certain-
that, but
Oh, no, and I know you're
the
not.
reporter is there reporting on that. And anybody who disrupted that service should not have been there. They get the consequences that they deserve. But what this is about is trying to instill fear in and that's the only thing that is enshrined, only occupation
Amendment?
that is enshrined in the law is freedom of the press. That's the only occupation, not law enforcement, not the military, the media.
Well, the founders put that there. First thing is that is number one, because the founders had that issue with the king. All right, so they already knew that in order for us to have any kind of inkling of a democracy, we have to have the freedom to speak. We have to have the freedom to challenge our government, you know, and make sure that, you know, the things that they say they're going to do, they're doing. So that's an important piece. But it's not about the freedom. It's about embarrassing them. Notice what they look like. It's about arresting those individuals and embarrassing. They know that's not going to go anywhere, but the pain and the agony and the expense and the embarrassment, that's all worthy for them.
So Jamal, I want
Doesn't
to.
that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
What the city does to people?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Running
But,
it over there.
and it's that's what I call them. It's taxpayer funded discrimination because, like I said, now they have the money to do it, and now we're right now voting on whether or not, you know, the spending. So Jamal, I mean, what are you hearing, if anything, out there? Because I hear a lot of complaining, but I don't. And, you know, these protests, I guess they serve a purpose and make people. But what is the action plan to get people in the voting booths? You know, I mean, Massachusetts is a pretty blue state, but I mean, because I told them, you all you need to take this show on the road. You know, I said if I was the chair of the Democratic Party, instead of me spending money on
Knocking
ads,
on doors.
I would be looking at states that have an overabundance of population of Democratic voters, and I would be buying housing for them in places like Florida and Georgia. You know, it's cheaper
Larry's like, I'm gonna register
to get them an apartment for 2 years, right? It's not illegal. Rather than spending billions of dollars on ads.
It's another form of a gerrymandering.
Exactly. Right. You know, beat them at their own game, right? Jamal, your thoughts, bro?
So, you know, what I'm hearing, number one, is a lot of things that it always is. And, you know, to the whole point of, like, you know, the white liberals and, you know, I have always detested protests that are held on Saturdays. There's no point to go to the Common or City Hall Plaza or anything like that when the building is closed.
Good point.
So, you know, to your point about voting, what I've found useful as a tool is not just the voting aspect, but, you know, actually going into the State House, like lobby day, or going into City Hall, into the, you know, having meetings with the city councilors, particularly if you have a large crowd with you. to put something on their table and thing. Now, in here in Boston and Massachusetts, Wu is doing her campaign against Trump. Maureen Healy is doing her campaign against Trump. Andrea Campbell is doing her. Campbell is doing her campaign against Trump.
So I'd ask you, Jamal, does that feel a little bit like, hey, look over there and not look at what I'm doing right now?
Yeah, that doesn't. Trump didn't raise my taxes. Trump
does.
isn't closing schools. Go ahead.
All I'm saying is that you have the people in some of the most powerful positions in office who are already basically anti-Trump. So now I think that what the people who think that they're protesting, what they're actually doing is shouting at the sky. But I think that what they need to do is, what I've always known. Protest without policy is pointless or purposeless.
Right.
So if you're moving an agenda, if you're pushing something, that's what I would want. I would want to see what are they asking Healy to do, Wu to do, Andrea Campbell to do that they're already not doing already. And then also, too, if folks are really concerned with some of these ICE issues, what type of service are they providing to the communities that are affected? So here in Boston, as we know, Haitians are largely affected.
Yeah.
And I just read that Trump's one of his new targets is Ethiopians. And we have a large Ethiopian population in Boston.
That's why he chose Minneapolis, No,
so, it's a mess.
No, you're right. And to that point, Jamal, like they had the conference of mayors this week, and I saw Mayor Wu, and a friend of mine was actually there attending, and he was texting me talking about the number and abundance of lies that the mayor was saying in his opinion. He was saying, how she's talking about she's provided all this affordable housing. And how well the schools are doing here in Boston, and I'm like, if you're not from Boston, it sounds good, right? And you're on the national stage, and she went there and testified in front of Congress.
Has she seen the school ratings where we're ranked? It's like
on here. Well, we have a freeze, which I don't have a problem with that because. But what they did with people didn't tell people was before the freeze, they loaded up everyone, they hired everybody, right? And then we're gonna hire and freeze. Well, you got everything you want. It's still going to cost the taxpayers more money for less schools. Yeah. And I'm not sure where this affordable housing is because, like I said, I'm looking at my tax bills for my properties I own here in the city. I've got to pass that on to my tenants. So the folks who thought it was just a landlord problem, and I think it was Helen that I flagged this, was fortunately for me, I can pass it on to but if you live in the home, you can't pass it on to anyone. If it's a single family home and you live in it, you can. I've talked to many of people who said, look, they were just going to not pay the taxes on the property, but because their mortgage, it's escrowed into their account, folks understand if you have a mortgage, the bank doesn't want the house getting into default because of taxes. It comes in every month when you pay. They send the taxes to the city.
Your mortgage go up.
Exactly.
Dr. Bradley.
And then there's still no free tea.
Go ahead.
More of
Dr.
that.
Bradley, see, them neighbors will help you dig out the snow, but ain't nobody chipping in on taxes.
You got that right, Jamal.
And we talked about with Trump, it's like Wu is basically like a mini Trump, and she's just been emulating a bit of what even Menino did, right?
She does it with a smile, and she doesn't look as menacing.
It's like, look over here while I stab you in the back over there.
She says it politely, but no, her tactics are no different than Donald Trump. Because you can't have any compassion for people and say, well, we're going to continue to raid your pocket, but we're not going to cut back on any spending. And I'm going to spend $700,000 because I need
how many speechwriters?
Right.
As you were speaking, Larry, I was thinking about a robber. A robber who's actually smiling and rob you versus one who's actually mean and
honest.
But they're both doing what? They're robbing you.
Right. I like that. They're both robbing you. So Jamal, I go back to the folks that normally turn out to these protests are usually people who automatically already probably are voters. I would be willing to say,
or are they?
I think a good majority of people, because they're civically engaged. There's some folks who go out because they think it's popular, and sadly, right, if the Patriots win the Super Bowl, that's what always it really annoyed me, was that the number of our folks who will come out, because the parade is one day and so isn't the election. Matter of fact, the election, if you use it properly, it's over a course of days because there's usually a week or two that you can early vote, right? So you have even more time. But they will go downtown, get there. That's not convenient. You know when we all know when there's an event,
It is not going to be.
you can't park. You get in City Hall, and people are down there, millions of people. And I always say, why isn't there a voter table? Why isn't some people signing? Why aren't we educating people about getting out to vote rather than coming out here for a parade?
Why block traffic? And I would say to anyone who's going to be out there protesting, it's like, keep in mind, the roads need to be kept free and clear for emergencies. There could be people out there because most of our major hospitals are in downtown Boston.
Well,
so if you have a family member, friend, or anyone else that may need medical assistance or medical attention, you need to keep those roads clear and let traffic flow through.
Yeah.
I'm all for protesting. I think that America was built on protesting, the so-called Boston Tea Party. But I think that's a golden opportunity for voter registration.
Yes.
Exactly.
Why not put strategically placed voting tables in a route?
Sign those cards,
Sign it.
fill them out.
Sign it. You got the emotions up now. This is how you carry your father.
That's what I'm talking about.
If you really want to be civically engaged and you really want to make an impact, register to vote.
Because I can tell you
Register
right
your
now,
friend to vote.
if I was out there
And vote.
right?
Exactly.
That's it, right?
And vote.
The execution, right? You have to execute. You just can't, there's no sense. Like the Patriots is a good analogy. Ray, he can drop a play, but if they can't execute it, it's just the play. Right?
That is true.
And if you don't have the people executing it, that's why
Buddy system, right?
right. We've gotten away from doing that. Go ahead, Jamal.
I just want to say too, once again, in my experience, these mass events that are happening, once again, largely with a lot of liberal folks, a lot of liberal white women, let's be clear,
Marxists.
many of whom don't even live in Boston proper. But that crowd is highly civically engaged.
Right. It's the Black Lives Matter crowd, right?
There you go. That right. The black but if you get into the black part of the Black Lives Matter crowd, particularly with the young people, that's where you'll find people who might not be registered.
There you go. So how do we reach them, Jamal?
Hold on. Or previously, remember the Occupy movement. A lot of those people were, they were anarchists and everything else, so they had opted out of the voting process in their own form of protest. Like, we're not participating in this, capitalist system or what have you.
Yeah.
But of course, every socialist, has $1 in their pocket, and is not going to literally give you the shirt off their back. So everybody who's living in this country, you're practicing capitalism whether you like it or not.
Right.
You cannot. It would be like going outside today and not feeling cold. You're surrounded by it.
Right. Even in here.
So
Even better in the ocean and not getting wet.
and they make it so easy to register now too. It's an online form. Just carry around an iPad and just be like, hey, fill it in.
But the other thing too that's scary, right, is let's say we had the ability to register in Boston, a million people. Ain't a million people in Boston, but figuratively.
Close, yeah.
Right.
Close.
We have no guarantee that we might be now raising up a new voter base that is stronger than the concept that we want to push forward.
Yeah.
Right? Because many people are still, I'm amazed, but there are many people out there who are still supporting Trump.
Right.
And once again, to that liberal crowd that we saw, and hopefully we'll get into this in the next hour. But that's the same crowd that supported people like Miss Monica. Okay,
that's why I'm coming to you, because I was going to ask you, because I saw some. I wasn't sure what was her sentence. What did she? I didn't see the
slap on the wrist.
Like,
she got 6 months of home confinement and 4
where she was already
probation.
At.
and 4 years of probation. Prosecution was asking for 18 months, so that obviously didn't happen. Prosecution was also asking for $227,000 in restitution for a portion of what she stole. That didn't happen. So her restitution is now like $107,000.
Okay.
And as I said, 6 months of home confinement and 4 years of probation.
Yeah, and I saw somewhere, because like I said, I didn't see the sentencing thing, but I didn't know that she had gotten remarried. I don't know, Dr. Brothers, you remember Monica Cannon was kind of one of those advocates, Black Lives Matter, was, now pled guilty to stealing some of that money from COVID, her and her husband was killed in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
And she collected $400K in life insurance for that.
Well, it seems like we have a trend there of people. Remember former city councilor Kendra Lara, right? She didn't end up going. She ended up avoiding prison, right? You had Tania Fernandez Anderson.
Hers was
that's apples and watermelons.
Hers was on motor vehicle stuff and
I was
paying
say,
insurance.
That's apples and watermelons.
Yeah, we've got 1 minute, Jamal. Let's go, and we're going to continue this through after the break. So just wanted to make you aware of the time. No, absolutely. But this is what I'm saying. Like I tell people, we have to be consistent on. Like I'm in that camp with you, Jamal, in that sense that the punishment fits the crime, and I don't care what you look like. If you go out there and do these things, because there's a bad reflection on us, because they always want to be harder on us when it happens, Like, just imagine if President Obama had released all of the folks who had done what these folks did to police officers, folks would not be okay with it, and so she should have been, I think this, it really just gives permission for folks.
And the easiest things I think to compare it to is actually Chuck Turner and Diane Wilkerson.